Hello there. In this video, we're going to introduce how I can use my Creative Suite design tools to take my wireframe design and really make it look great. In this video, we're already going to work with a project that's gone a little bit further than we have in the last videos. So let's actually walk through this just to familiarize yourself with what we have here. So the welcome page looks pretty much the same, although the navigation is down back at the bottom. Eat is also similarly designed, but I also I've modified the watch page, and I actually have brought in some videos that when you bring those videos in, they automatically add in player controls. And I have created another data list here on the right-hand side. I also have a new state in my application called Watch Full, which actually pushes out the list of the videos and the description out to maximize the amount of screen space I have to actually display the video. So what we're going to do is import some artwork that a designer has already provided me to change the background of my project here. So my designer already came to me and said, what are the dimensions of your project? And I said it's 640 by 480. So what they did is they, in Photoshop, created a design that was 640 by 480. What we're going to do is take this PSD and we're going to import this into Catalyst. So I'm going to go into Flash Catalyst. And I already have a background group here called Background. This particular example already has a background graphic created here. It's just a rectangle that's white. That's 640 by 480. What we're going to do is we're going to do File, and we're going to import a Adobe Photoshop PSD file. I'm going to select that graphic that was designed in Photoshop and then click Open. It's going to allow me to import those graphics into Flash Catalyst, and I click OK. And it then imports all those layers as individual layers inside of Catalyst. So it's important to remember that when I import designs from Photoshop, it's not going to flatten everything. It's actually going to preserve the different layers inside of Photoshop. So let's hide that animation here. We can actually start to see that design come through. So this particular design, if you notice, all these individual circles are all individually selectable. That's because they were all, if I go back into Photoshop, individual layers inside of Photoshop. All right, so back into Flash Catalyst, I now want to modify the header and footer of my design here. So at the top, I'm going to select this rectangle that was used to represent the header itself. Now, instead of importing artwork, I'm going to take this header and go into Illustrator and use the Illustrator tools to modify the design of my header. To do that, I can take any vector object and right-click it and say Edit in Adobe Illustrator CS5. This will launch Illustrator if it's not currently running, and then take a snapshot of my overall project and allow me to see what I'm editing in context of the rest of the project. Now, when it does this, let me actually open up the Layers panel. When you do this, you'll see that there are two major layer areas here. One's called Background, which is not editable. And then I have the selected content, which if I stretch this out a little bit, you'll see that the names are the same as what they were inside of Flash Catalyst. If I want to have a little bit more of an easy time to see this in context, I can unlock the background layer, change the visibility of the layer called Edit Overlay. That will allow me to see everything without a washed out look. So I actually have already created some graphic styles for this project, and I'm going to open those up to quickly get through the Illustrator design process here. So I'm going to open up my style library called Custom Graphic Styles. Now, graphic styles, if you're not familiar with them, are really helpful when I'm working with Illustrator. When you create artwork inside of Illustrator, you can save that artwork as a graphic style and then give it a name. In this case, I've created graphic styles for header graphic, shadow bar, footer gradient, and I've actually named each one of these. These are great if you want to create graphic styles or you're going to reuse project over project. or if you're going to be bringing in lots of content from Flash Catalyst and you want to make sure you always give it a consistent look and feel. So I'm going to select this graphic that we imported in from Flash Catalyst, and I'm going to apply the header graphics style to it. As you can see, it creates a very slight gradient that's semi-transparent. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So you'll see that it actually is going to create a nice effect when we finish with this. So with that now done, I can click on the Done button. It's going to give me a dialog box, which I can just click OK for now. It's going to save this and then take those changes and bring them back into Flash Catalyst. You'll notice that inside of Flash Catalyst, I now no longer have that white box, but I now have this nice gradient box that's been brought in. So I can modify this just a little bit. Let me reposition this so that's at 0, 0, because I have this little border around both edges. There we go. And my width is off by 1 pixel, so let's make that the full width of 640. There. So now with that gradient created, I'm also going to modify the text here. Now text I can actually modify directly inside of Flash Catalyst. So let's actually go into the Properties panel here, and let's modify this so that it's a different font. And I'm going to use Adobe's font, and then I'm going to change its weight to light, and let's make it white. There. So now with that change, I want to make sure that this different graphic is actually consistent over the other pages of my project. So I can select both of these and say make same in all other states. Now that background that we imported from Photoshop, though, that's not yet being displayed in the other states. That's because I imported it just into this particular state. So I'm going to go into my Layers panel here. I'm going to select that original application background that was there before and delete that from the project. I'm then going to select all of those different layers, right-click, and say Share to All States. If you look at the thumbnails on top of the Pages panel at the top, you'll see that those are then replicated over the other pages. So as you can see, I'm now starting to block by block, improve the wireframe designs and bring them to the full fidelity designs using Photoshop or Illustrator. I can also do the same thing with the buttons down here at the bottom. I'm going to go into this particular component by double-clicking into it. This component was a custom component that was created by taking graphics as well as other components and create a customly defined component inside of Flash Catalyst. I'm going to use the same workflow that I used with Illustrator before to modify the background of this design. Right-click, say Edit in Adobe Illustrator CS5. Takes me back into Illustrator. I'm going to select that object. I'm going to apply the footer gradient, and then click Done. There. Now that design has been brought into this particular design. Next, I'm going to go into the button. Now to edit the button, I have to remember that I've got multiple states of the button. So I'm going to go and edit the up state of the button first. So let's select the back of the button, right-click, and let's edit in Adobe Illustrator again. I can select the button and then apply the button graphic style that I've already created, which is has a nice little gradient to it. And then I'm going to click Done. So now I've brought that in, and now I've defined the up state of the button. But it only has done the up state. Let's actually do this all at the same time. So let's go back. I'm going to undo my changes here. And I'm going to go outside to the next level above the button.